burning out because you are weak. You're exhausted because you have been carrying weight that was never all yours to carry, and no one told you to put any of it down. Hi, I'm Tami. I'm an executive leadership strategist and advisor, and this is a Leader's Purpose podcast. You're sitting in a seat where the decisions you make are impactful, they're visible, and they're felt by everyone around you. You carry the weight of the organization, and everyone around you knows it. So they keep pulling on you for everything, constantly. And most of what you've been handed about leadership isn't wrong. It's just backwards. I've spent years studying what drives performance at the highest levels. Every week, I bring you what I've learned, the patterns, the reframes, and the things that no one's saying out loud, so you can stop managing your leadership and start trusting it. You already have what it takes. This is where you get to remember that. But before we get into today's episode, which we are ending our Leadership Myth series with today's Leadership Myth number 6. But if you have not grabbed the Invisible Weight private audio, this is where I want you to go. I want you to download the 6 episodes. They're short, they're 10 minutes or less each. They go straight to your phone, so it's super easy. But this is the kind of conversation that we don't get to have in LinkedIn. This is a conversation we don't get to even on the podcast. We have one episode where it's the 6 episodes that build on each other and tell one story. So I want you to check that out. The link is in the bio, and just go listen to it. But now, 6 weeks ago, we started this series. And if you've been with me this whole way, I want you to know that I saved this last one I saved the last one on purpose. And I'm just so grateful that you've been on this journey with me. You know how I love a good series. And now I'm trying to think of what the next one is going to be. But this one is really personal to me. This one is, I kept this one for last because this is the one that every leader, I was going to say almost all, but I really want to say every leader that I've worked with has been carrying, but no one wants to talk about it out loud. So today is myth number 6, and this one is personal. So we've talked about collaboration myth, that everyone has to agree. We've talked about certainty and how we don't have to have all the information. We don't have to have all the answers to have clarity. That yes, the number 3 is gut instinct. It's important to check your gut and go with your gut instinct, but you also have to examine it and question it. Then we talked about engagement, that it's not a leadership problem. And then we talked about last week is you don't have to be confident all the time. So today's myth, we're going to round out the whole series. And we're going to talk about that leadership pressure gets easier with experience. How many times have we told ourselves, it will just get easier when I have more information. It'll be easier when I have a team. It'll be easier tomorrow. It'll be easier. The idea is that the longer you are in a role, the more you have seen, the lighter it gets. That you should be handling this better by now. You have the experience, you have the track record, and if it still feels heavy, something must be off in you. Here's what I know after working with senior leaders and leaders at the highest level for over 20 years. Experience does not make leadership lighter. It makes it more visible, it makes it more consequential, and the decisions carry more weight because there are more people affected by them. The stakes are higher because you've earned a seat where the stakes are higher. You've earned it. This is the work. The weight doesn't go away, but there is a difference between the weight that is yours to carry and the weight that you have been carrying out of habit. And most leaders don't or can't see the difference. So you already know this feeling. Let me set the stage for you so you can, because maybe this will resonate, is you're exhausted in a way that you can't fully explain. You're not tired from a hard week. Yeah, you love the work you do, and you know from working a hard day's work, you're just tired. But this is exhausted in a way that you can't fully explain. Tired in a way that does not resolve itself after a good night's sleep. You used to have more energy for this. You remember what that felt like, and you can't figure out where it all went. You may be blaming it on age or circumstances, but still you're trying to figure out why. Here's another one. So you're present everywhere, and nowhere at the same time. You're physically at the dinner table and mentally still in a 4 o'clock meeting, playing it over, thinking about tomorrow's meeting, thinking about what you should have said, what you didn't say. And your kids are talking to you and you're nodding and you're even like hearing the words, but you're not really there. And then you feel guilty for not being there. So now you're carrying that too. Or you wake up, you wake up at 3 a.m. turning over a decision that you've already made. Not because there's new information, but because it didn't fully settle. And you made the call in the room and you're remaking it alone in the dark. And you're wondering if this is what the role really is and why is it so hard. You're wondering if the cost of being the one people count on is worth it. You're wondering if everyone at your level feels this way and just doesn't say it, or if there's something wrong. So this is not theory. I want to share a real conversation. One of my advisory clients that changed how the leader understood what he was actually carrying. And when it shifted, it changed his team, his results, and how he showed up when he walked through his front door at night. So it changed one small change. Not only changed his work and the way he related to his team, but it also, they felt it at home too. So I worked with a VP who had one of the best teams. He talked about them as having one of the best teams he's seen in a long time. Talented, capable, ready to move, and he knew it. He could see the potential in each of them. He chose them individually to be on this team. So not just a group of together, it's each individual. He saw the potential in them. And he genuinely wanted the best for every person on the team and not just the collective group. And this is exactly where the weight started. He was carrying the responsibility for their growth, managing what he wanted for them rather than creating the space for them to own it themselves. He was generating every initiative, every idea, every next move, innovative ideas, real ones, really real ideas and concepts, the kind that could shift an entire industry. And he could not understand why they were not landing, why the team was not picking them up and running with them, and why he had to keep getting their buy-in. So every decision he made, he would replay. How did it land? How was it received? Why did they not take it and go? Why can't they catch the vision? And he was reading the room through his own lens. And his lens was responsibility. He defined it as his job to carry the outcome for everyone. So he was taking it home, because if you define your lens through responsibility, every aspect of your life he was responsible for. So he defined it as his job to carry the outcome for everyone. And every person who left his team, he took personally. Every initiative that stalled, he carried alone. He believed that was part of being a good VP, that he had to carry this weight for his team. And in our first session, I asked him to tell me where leadership felt heavy. I asked him to describe what was going on. And as we talked, I could see it. The weight of every person on his team was sitting on his shoulders. And he was not managing the team, he was carrying it. And when that was cracked open, a single word bubbled: responsibility. I asked him what it meant. He told me. And then I asked him, what if the people on your team define it differently? What if they already were taking responsibility in their own way and you have not been able to see it because you've been so busy for too long carrying what it meant for their definition in your eyes? That makes sense. Let me say that a little different. What if it meant what if they were already taking responsibility, but you were so blindsided, you had the blinders on to only see it through the way that you defined it? He went quiet. He had never allowed them to define it. He had never given them space to own it, because in his definition, responsibility was his, all of it. And his team had been waiting for him to hand something over that he did not want, that he did not know he was still holding, that he didn't want to hold tightly. And so they were waiting, and they were getting a signal from him. And he was the one carrying it because he had not given them permission to take it and run with it. So if you are listening to this, I'm going to take a moment because I'm getting ready to talk about the myth and what it could look like. But if this is something that's resonating with you and you know you don't need more episodes, that you need 45 minutes with me, the link is in the show notes. Let's figure out exactly what you're carrying and remove it fast. But because here's what I know about the weight. Some of it is real. Like that's part of the job, right? Some of it is yours. But some of it you picked up along the way and you forgot that it was a choice to carry it or not. So let's get back into it. Experience does not reduce the load. However, knowing yourself does. And that's what exactly this VP did when he started defining what responsibility was for him and realizing that every person can define it slightly different, have the same general idea. But this myth says that pressure gets easier with experience. And what experience gives you is more to manage, more visibility, and higher stakes on every call you make. It gives you a team to foster and goals to achieve. So experience is really good, right? Experience helps us get to where we are. It does not give you a lighter load. It gives you a more practiced one, and sometimes a more practical one. But the leaders who navigate this level, the leaders who navigate it well, are not the ones who stopped feeling the weight. They're the ones who are honest about what is load bearing and what they have been carrying out of habit, out of loyalty, out of definition of responsibility that was never fully examined or accepted. And here's the layer that most leadership development never gets to. Knowing yourself is not just insight. It is load management. When you understand your own wiring, like how you process decisions, what drains you, what you are doing unconsciously in every room you walk into, you stop spending energy being confused by your own reactions, or how many times it's like, I said what I don't want to say and I don't do what I want to do, those reactions we have. And you start carrying weight, and you stop carrying weight that you can even name because you finally understand where it's coming from. And I want you to know that in this day of information, and we used to say knowledge is power, information is power. It's not. It is overwhelm. It is burnout. It looks like indecisiveness, but it's not helpful anymore. So because information without a proper filter, without your filter, without understanding your wiring, is simply more information, and more is not always better. And this is the work that changes everything, not just in the office. It changes what you bring home. It changes whether you are actually present at the dinner table or just physically there. It changes that 3 a.m. conversation that you're having with yourself about a decision that you've already made. It might even lead to sleeping through the 3 a.m. conversation and having a good night's sleep, because the weight does not disappear. But the leader who knows herself, who understands her wiring, her patterns, her definitions of words like responsibility, success, loyalty, integrity, moves differently under it. She stops carrying what was never hers and starts leading from what is. So what does it look like with this load shifts? And this is where I want to leave you for this last episode in this series. Because what becomes possible when you stop carrying what was never yours? Like, I want you to start to see what becomes possible, because what it is, it's lighter. It's when you have more joy in your everyday. It's, picture this, when the version of you who leaves the office, who walks out of the office and actually leaves it. So you don't carry work home with you, not because there's nothing unresolved. We know that is never going to happen, right? There's always things that need your attention and that decisions you're going to have to, look at in the morning. But it's, you leave the office because you know the difference between what needs you tonight and what can wait until morning. And then also picture sitting at the dinner table and really being there, not managing the guilt of not fully being present, but really, truly, intentionally present. And because the weight you carried in the door is not the weight that belongs at the table. And the decision that you made holds. Not because nothing could go wrong, because we know things can go wrong, and they do, but because you made it from a foundation that does not shift at 3 a.m. From a foundation that you know if something does go wrong, you can figure it out. And then your team takes ownership. Not because you inspired them harder or more, because you finally handed them the space to define responsibility in their own way. And they were ready. They've always been ready. This is your dream team, and now they get to live the dream. They get to push the dream, and they get to hold and further the mission. That version of leadership is not the reward for surviving this level. It's available right now, and the only thing between you and knowing what you are carrying and why. Like, it's the only difference is understanding who you are and what's meant for you to carry, and then why do you hold on to things that are not meant for you to carry. So the weight doesn't go away, but the leader who knows what is load bearing, what she's been carrying out of habit, she moves differently, and everyone around her feels it. I'm going to say this again, because the weight doesn't go away, but it doesn't have to weigh you down. And that is the work that we do together. So before you go, I want to say something to you directly. If anything in this episode's landed, or these last leadership myths, because I think it's really getting to the heart of some of the struggles that I'm seeing in leaders today. And I'm seeing the research that Gallup and Forbes and things are putting out, and I'm realizing that this is not just a small level. This is a broad scale problem. But if something's landed, and it's not because you're missing a skill or behind where you should be. It's nothing's wrong with you. It's because you are carrying things that were not right, that were right for the previous level you were at, but you haven't set down for this level. The instructions haven't been updated. Your operating system hasn't been upgraded, or when your cell phone is updated. The order's off. And so nobody told you to check. You didn't go and check to see, have I been upgraded? Have my thoughts and my wiring caught up to who I am now and how I'm leading now? And that is what I do in a diagnostic call. It's not a sales conversation. I'm not very good at, the Clifton Strengths. If you know that, like winning others over is my very last strength. So I wouldn't call it a strength at all, but what is that relationship building. So it's just you and me, 45 minutes, figuring out exactly what is running your leadership right now and what gets to shift immediately. Most leaders walk away from the call seeing something that they've been looking for years, but they finally get to see in the right angle that they can do something about it. So if you're ready for that, link is in the show notes, but it's TamiMarieCoaching.com/call. So let's figure out what's in the wrong order and fix it. All right, with that, I will see you next week. Bye for now.